to deal with the heavy emotions, the heavy information that come at us, particularly at this time, and that is the creative process. And I talk about this a lot. Kue and Sinzere and I talked about this this week. Is everything that we do, everything that we create, is a creative process. So it is my belief that we are creating, and not woo-woo, but in the fact that we are creating an experience here together, right? And to me, what's most important as an artist is that I know what I do, I want to know how I do it, and then I want to know how I support what I do so that I can best do what I do sustainably and for the rest of my life. Because this is not I'll do it till I'm 46, or I'll do it till my kids grow. It's like, I want to be on stage until I'm 90. Heck, 100, why not, Woo! Right? Yeah. I'm in it for the long haul, and to me, the conversation about creative process is the most important thing to me as a musician. I'm a musician as well. Not only do I like to get up and talk in front of and with people, because I sure do like the sound of my own voice. That was my presentation to Colleen when I said, I want to do a workshop on creative process. I like the sound of my own voice, but what I like even more is the sound of other people's voices talking about their creativity, their creative process, and their artistic practice. So, the first question that I'm going to pose to Kue and then to Sinzere, because I don't need to do the introduction, is who are you and what do you do? And then why? And this was a theme that I see emerging through the conference. I attended the confidence building workshop yesterday. Kirby, you were there too, and I think there was a couple of other people in the room as well. Maria, I think you were too. She asked a really important question: why? And I think that, to me, that is the most important question at every single step that we exist and that we do our thing, is why am I doing this? And the reasons could be whatever the reason is, but if we know what the reason is, if we know the why, then I feel that we can better walk through the world, and I promise not to use air quotes too often, but authentically. I want to take back the word authentic. Does anybody else have that feeling? Right? Like taking back this word that has become trendy in a way. Maybe that means that we're talking about it more. Vulnerability, I feel, is also connected to authenticity. It's the hardest thing to be ourselves, and the easiest, right? So, what I want you to do, as of course, because I think we're all multitaskers in a way, and we have a lot of things going on in our brains, is while Kue and Sinzere are introducing themselves, in the spaces between, I want you to consider, what is your why? Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it? So, Kue, who are you, what do you do, and why?
I am just a little soul on a really cool planet named Kue Varo. I like to make music, I like to create, pretty much anything. I love to write, and I think why at the base of it would purely be to connect and experience things and to learn and grow. But for me, I started doing music because I found friendships in vulnerable voices when I was listening to music growing up, and I was pretty isolated as a kid, so that was huge for me, and I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to connect. I want people to feel that they've got friends through music, so I think that's why I do it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I'm Sinzere, rap funk artist. For me, music has served as a vessel to help me to enlighten myself and to be able to create space and enlighten other people, especially speaking to the stories of the ancient Africans, the resiliency and everything they were faced with, and all their contributions to the world. So my inspiration definitely stems from the story of my people and amplifying those stories.
Amazing. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
What I want to ask, and of course, again, I want to ask everyone, I myself have come to this decision. I really love words. I love playing around with them, and I like being able to use words to define something deeper than just sort of a shallow understanding. So when we talk about the creative process, what we're going to refer to as the thing that is happening while we're doing it. So as we are creating, that to me is the creative process. So be it writing a song, putting together a killer marketing plan, doing a really important social media post, making a really great sandwich, like whatever it is, that is the creative process. Your desire to do something and then doing it, that is the process. That's what we're going to talk about. But then there's a second definition that I like to discuss, and that is artistic practice. And to me, artistic practice is what do we do in service to our process? Because I myself as an artist up until only a couple of years ago was like, oh, I write songs and it happens accidentally. And then I do it when I'm inspired or when I've drank enough beer or when I've smoked enough weed or where I've fallen in love or where I've been heartbroken. Like there's always that I just kind of accidentally do the thing. And that absolutely can happen. Like I think all of us can go, yeah, that's happened. But every now and then I can fall into a song and it just sort of writes itself. Full disclosure, that's happened twice in my 30 years of writing songs. So there's got to be another way. And to me, that other way is knowing what we do to support ourselves or sabotage ourselves. I sabotage myself all the time. And certainly a conversation about how drugs and alcohol and what we do in our everyday life, we're going to talk about that. Because I think that as artists, there's lots of things that we try to hide, right? Oh, songs just come to me, right? I just get on stage and play. I don't know how it happens. Oh, I just get a gig, right? Like because there's a scarcity mindset, right? Yeah. And so what I want to do in this, 45 minutes that we have left is get really real about what are the things that we can do as artists to support ourselves, how we can communicate that to the people that we work with, because I think that there are people here, including these artists here, who have teams, who have people that support them, publicists, the industry. If we can communicate as artists what we need, then the industry can serve us, rather than the industry telling artists what they need. Not that revolutionary of a concept, right? But how can we ask for what we need if we don't know what we need? I don't know what I need as an artist sometimes, and so that's why we're having this conversation. That's why we're having this conversation. So, Q, let's talk. Let's hear from you. What is your creative process? Like, what is it? If you were to put words to the thing that you do, what is it?
You're talking creative, not artistic.
We'll get to the practice, but like the actual process itself.
My creative process it fluctuates greatly, and that depends on whether I'm writing in a group setting.
I want to talk about that.
Or if I'm writing solo, what instrument I'm picking up at the time. Sometimes it is that beautiful inspiration. I'm in the shower, I sing a thing, and then I'm like, okay, good thing I know music by ear, because now I have to try to make this happen on some kind of an instrument, and then bring it to the band and go, please make it better. Yeah, but it totally depends. Sometimes if I'm working in a group and people are playing music, then I'm thinking about what visuals I'm getting from that music, because I'm very active imagination, so a lot of my writing comes from feeling what I'm hearing and creating. Well, visions just sort of pop in my head, and then I'm just describing them, essentially. So it changes a lot. It changes on the season and my mood.
Yeah.
Very hard thing to pin down. I think for me it would almost be easier to talk about the artistic...
The practice, yeah.
Practice, because that sets up the creative process, and I am conscious of that. So depending on what I know I'm going to be doing, if there's lots of band practices coming up, or if I'm going into a period of like hermiting because now it's winter, I'll be setting myself up to create in those different ways. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And so as a singer, and we talked about this in the past too, is that the feeling that I'm getting is that it's melody that comes to you first. And as a singer,
melody, I think that's
shower,
true.
Driving, where else do you find that melody kind of goes hello?
Oh, literally anywhere. I mean, I sing about everything all the time. Half the time it's joke songs that maybe they do better than I don't know.
Putting on my shoes.
And that's been the way it's been for me since I was like 2, to be honest with you. I'm always singing.
Yeah.
But yeah, song is different when it's like or it's poems because I've always been a writer too.
Lyrical.
And I like to tell people write a poem and then make it a song if they're blocked. Or even just a line, I'll get like an idea or like be reading something, a little philosophical thought comes in. Like, that's kind of an interesting thought. And then it's 6 months later, I might build a whole song around that one sort of aha moment that I had.
Yeah. Do you journal?
Yeah.
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 How about you, Sinzere? Tell me about your process, because we talked a little bit on the phone while you were making dinner. Is dinner making, because cutting and sort of like methodical, or what we say, like meditative things, I find that I'll get hits of inspiration.
The everyday things for me are just that, they're everyday things. And I separate them from the artist because it's important for me to have that balance.
Yes.
So, I mean, I find when I'm in nature though, I find like when I'm in somewhere that provides a certain sense or a level of solitude for me, a lot comes to me that way. And like I told you on the phone, like I take no credit for what I do. God is my ghostwriter.
Oh, I like that.
So like all of it really is coming from I really don't know how it works, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm just the vessel
Yeah.
that, you know, these beautiful stories come to. I will say that in having to kind of clear the canvas and clear away any preconceived notions that I had of myself as a first generation, you know, Black Caribbean kid being raised here in the prairies. History has always taught me that my people were slaves. So for me, ultimately, is I had to learn all of these things about myself and learn the true story of my people, which, like I said, helped to enlighten me and then also enlighten me on this creative journey. So my artist this process for me is the process of unlearning and learning, which is kind of helps to inspire a creative process.
That makes total sense to me.
I want to pick up what you just said, the clearing of the canvas.
Yeah.
And I'd like everyone to sort of latch onto that concept for a second, because I think it's really important and will work as a perfect transition into talking about and discussing the practice. Because, and you both of you said it, you're a vessel. Sometimes it just happens. And I think that's what's so fascinating about the creative process. I have no clue sometimes. Like, once an inspiration hits me and I start to work with it, then I know. It's like, okay, I'm going to put chords to it. I'm a pianist, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to anchor now what I'm getting as inspiration into some harmony, and maybe I'm going to add some words, and then I craft it. But the actual creative process of how it's happening is just like, well, it's everything. It's our training, it's our experience, it's who we are, and then there is that I don't know, right? That vessel sort of
That's
thing.
your voice though, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like, oh, it's who you are, how you're crafting it. That's your unique voice due to your experiences. But like the initial thing that comes into you is like something else, but you're a vessel, but you also get to translate whatever that is through your voice, which is important, and that's what makes it unique and interesting. Yeah.
I think that's part of the
Well
conversation. Go ahead.
No, I just, well said.
Well said, yeah. It reminds me of, I've only cracked the first chapter, but has anyone else picked up Rick Rubin's The Creative Act? Oof. Oh, right?
Because what a wizard.
Yeah, what a wizard. Also, I hate him because he wrote the book that, of course, I think a lot of us who talk about creativity for a living want to write, because there's such a beautiful, he's able to talk about the creative act, creativity, similarly to Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. Has anyone else, there's a smile on your face. I love Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. Both of those people are able to discuss creativity and a higher power. I do a lot of this. Just only to level the playing field in this room, to be like, we don't have to believe in the same things, but those are two individuals who speak about a higher power and the relationship between humans and our creative thing that we almost feel compelled to do, and that it doesn't have to be a big G, a big G God kind of situation. I want to bring it down to earth a little bit more and anchor it in practice. So for myself, and this is something that I want you all to consider as well, again, you don't have to be artists to start to clock, okay, what are the things that I do in service to myself and my health and my well-being and what I do, what my passion is, versus maybe the things that I do that aren't necessarily in service. And so for me, what was the biggest, and this is again, I only speak for myself, the biggest decision to affect my practice was to stop drinking. And alcohol was something that really served me for a very long time, to be able to get on stage, to be able to be uninhibited, and many times unhinged, in a way, and like really feel that uncontrolled energy, right, of accessing something powerful on stage and being able to present it. Alcohol was really powerful for me for a long time, but when I quit drinking, I realized that was something that I would have to continue to do. I walk a lot, I meditate, I do yoga, and this is something that Kue and I talked about, I make myself sit down at the piano. I have a 6-year-old, I co-parent, and so I find that a lot of times, if I don't go, no, Kenna, you haven't sat down at the piano today, I make myself go sit down, even if I'm not feeling it. And this is, my buddy Amy Jo sent me a wonderful video of Neil Gaiman offering the fact that when he goes in to sit down at his desk, he does 2 things, nothing or he writes. And that's it. He doesn't go to his phone, he doesn't start reading. He just realized that if he does nothing long enough, writing seems a bit better to do. And so I've taken that to heart. It was just such a great video that reminded me, if I just sit there and be bored, at some point it's gonna make more sense for me to just fucking play and just do the thing. So those are that's my artistic practice. There is an element of like giving myself a pep talk, engaging with the thing that I love, even though sometimes it's hard and I'm tired and all I want to do is smoke weed and watch whatever it is, Ted Lasso. But yeah, the practice I have discovered has been very, very important for me to go, okay, these are the things that I need to do. The things that I can't do anymore, that I still really, really want to do, and anyone who works with alcoholism or problem drinking, I really want to drink. I really want to grab that bottle of bourbon and take a couple shots and then sit down at the piano. I would love nothing more, but I made the decision not to, and I think I'm better for it. So yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that, because I think it's important to address. Hey, thanks, Kirby. It's hard. Anyway, yeehaw. Yeah, right? Yeehaw. And the music industry is tough about that, right? It's hard to be sober sometimes in our industry. Kue, how about you? What are the practices that you do?
So I don't force writing.
Yeah, that's what
first and foremost. I do not force myself to write. I push myself to practice and like have fun. I really try to frame it as fun, because otherwise there's a big block for me.
Yeah.
But I don't force myself to write. I actually have instead tried to figure out the things that create that inspirational space so that it can happen naturally.
That's legit practice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
way to go.
It's a lot of like, there's meditation is really important for me personally. I have a lot of different sort of practices that I do. I'm a very spiritual person. But then there's also things like reading and documentaries, and like if I don't have something to write about, it's gonna suck. So like I need to fill my head with new words, new thoughts, new ideas, unpack who I am, like come to some new conclusions. What are you doing if you're not growing? So I try to like set myself up to have things that I actually want to write about. And I really do think that doesn't have to be sad all the time too. I'll say that.
I'm sorry, what?
You should be able to write a song about how good something is, even if it's just the leaves looking really nice. Because I love a sad song.
Me too.
Don't
That's all
get
I
me
write.
started. It feels so good. It's so cathartic and so important. But like, I really do think there is such value in being able to write about things you love and things like the experience of life. Like, why are we here? Terms and conditions moments. Bobby and I were talking one time, like, this is one of those, if I was gonna be born and this is on the terms and conditions, like this moment, I get to experience this moment for all the terms and conditions of everything else I've been through, I'd sign it.
I like that. Do you see my face where I'm like, I like this terms and conditions
It's
premise.
just stuff like that. And so, I feel like I sort of know myself, and I fight against it because I'm still a human, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be good and do the thing I know I should. But like,
wait, can you say that? Is that a song lyric right there? No, that was good. That was good.
but yeah, that's the beauty of being an artist and talking to people.
Yeah.
and getting to know different artists and go outside your own genre and experience like everybody else's stuff, because there's so much cool things and galleries and everything. Art, consume art.
Yeah.
To get inspired and create art, I think is like, for me personally, the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, and what was so wonderful having a conversation with you and then having a conversation with Sinzere the next day is that possibly we could consider both of you as artists as being so very different, right? Different genres, different people, but the ways that you talk about language may be different, but you both speak so similarly in terms of concept about what you do, how you walk through the world in terms of your creative practice. There's such an intent with what you both do. And that's why when Colleen suggested, oh, I have the perfect artist Kenna for you to talk to, it's like, hell yeah. Sinzere, tell me about the things that you do. I know you meditate as well.
Yeah.
And let's, for just a second, because I meditate, Q meditates, you meditate. Anybody else? We're not shaming anyone, but like, how is meditation is a thing?
It's good.
It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
What is it? What does meditation do for us as artists? What does it do for you? And then I'd be curious to hear from anyone else that might want to share.
I just think this part of the world that we live in is very busybody, and there's so much going on, and there's so much frequency being transferred through so many different things, whether it's devices, whether it's people,
Yeah.
because the transference of energy is like a real thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to be able to like settle yourself and silence yourself and go within and be nothing. I think it's so important in order to connect to like your highest form, like your truest self. So it's like that's what meditation is for me. It's just being able to get away from the noise and connect with the purest version of myself.
Amazing. What else?
Well, I
want to know
I
everything.
used to do all the things like you. Like I used to drink and I used to smoke weed, and God knows I'm not gonna.
And it's okay if you do, right? Like I think you and I talked about this. It's like it's
Yeah.
okay, like
Yeah, it's cool.
whatever people need to do,
Yeah, that's hey, whatever floats your boat, do your thing.
right? Yeah.
But I think for me, it just over time I started getting very cloudy.
Yeah.
And I think it just wasn't serving my highest self. So for me, things like meditation, things like nature, things like spending time with my daughter, my family, and it's very healing for me. Yeah. It inspires me in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of tried to stay away from like things that I guess lower my vibration. That could be people as well.
I so.
She was like, yeah.
And isn't it funny? I don't know if you noticed this. I took a big pause off booze, and I don't drink when I perform or record. But I think it's funny how if you stop and you just allow yourself to be sober for a minute, the people that don't serve you become very apparent.
Wow. Amen to that.
And
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
actually like being around.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
blessings to everyone, because I love them all. But yeah, sometimes
Oh,
it's just
I can love you from afar. I don't hate nobody, but if you're not good for my soul, you're not good for my spirit, or you're not feeding me,
Yeah.
stay your ass over there. And I will love you from over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I want to echo, I don't know if anyone else here in Calgary works with or probably has run across an incredible Indigenous elder, Chantal Chaniel Grey Eyes. She does a lot of work in the arts world, and I work with her as much as I can. And she's been teaching me how to engage respectfully with the medicine wheel. And one of the things that she helped me through, and she says it to me every time, because I start talking and she's like, Kenna, love them from over there. Love them from over there. And I just wanted to echo that because I think that that's truly important. Okay, we have time. So what I want to do, because although I could ask questions to Sinzere and Q all day, these type of workshop settings, I don't want to feel that you are all just passive. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take 5 minutes right now, and I'd like you to just take a moment and either write down or ponder in your brain or put on your phone or discuss with the people around you, what is your practice? What are the things, and get real, and you don't have to share the good things or the bad things, but I do want you to go through the process because I pose these questions in advance to Sinzere and Q. What are the things that you do to support you? And I also want you to, I don't want to say I want you. I would like to encourage you to implore to then ask yourself the question, what do I do that is not in service to my practice? What is not in service to my process? And it could be as simple as, I like to late night eat. That is not in service to my
motherhood.
That's motherhood, thank you. But like, it is not in service to my creative practice is late night eating, because what do oh God, covered bridge. Has anyone else tried the covered bridge storm chips? Ah, my, anyway.
No.
The party.
The party bag, yeah. Thanks, AJ. Anyway, okay, we're gonna take 5. And your artistic practice, what do you do? What are the things? Go ahead. Talk amongst yourselves or not. But let's just take a breather.
I love that. I love that. Clearing the slate.
Yes. That really spoke to me when you said clearing the canvas, clearing the slate.
That's really beautiful.
Everything you guys said was like so
We're
fulfilling.
gonna have to be friends now.
Yeah,
We should hang out.
yeah,
Friends.
yeah,
Such a
absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is so cool though, eh? It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Artistic.
Artistic, yeah. What do you do? What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm still gonna eat pizza at midnight.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It serves me.
You eat that pizza.
I think what I want to talk about next is influences.
Okay.
So that means,
Cool.
right, we talked a little bit about drugs and
that.
alcohol, we talked a little bit about the state of the world.
Spending time every day.
But for me,
People influences?
people influences,
Yeah, okay.
Quite well.
the true to ourselves situation, right? Like, how does our mental health affect our creative process? How do the people we hang out with affect our process, right? Our jobs. You know, I really want to, I would love to discuss, yeah, because I have found that I have been very stopped since October 17th in terms of what I share online. The state of the world is really affected.
Yes.
And so you and I spoke about the fact that as a Black woman, you have been speaking and working to open up the conversation about your people and your history. And so this is not new for you.
For me,
And so I want to be able to talk about not just what's happening currently, but like how the state of the world writ large can affect our creative process.
Yeah.
And then also, what is our responsibility, right? Because
Do we have one?
do we have one? I
Right.
think that's the first question,
Yeah.
right? Is do we have a responsibility? And is that your
Conviction. Or it's just like it needs to be authentic.
right?
It's a problem.
Yeah. Right? I was thinking about what they were saying.
and I was like, I really
I think fun was a big one that I picked up on. That's something that I've been like, when I lit a match to my life last summer, I realized that like one of the things that allowed me to go, nope, this is not the life I want anymore, and made like really difficult, hard decisions to completely change my life. I realized that the actual impetus for it is that I want to follow through. So I wasn't having
as much as like I
like, I know life can be hard, and I was a new mom and blah blah blah, all the things. But I couldn't find the fun. I couldn't find the fun anywhere. And I realized that when I decided to follow the fun, I felt like, how dare I? How could I? Like, how silly is it? But I found that that was totally connected to my self-worth. That I didn't think that I was worthy of having everything should be hard. I should have to work for it.
Oh shit.
I've totally been there, done that, and had to learn.
Again, that comes back to this part of the world that we live in teaches us that, right? You gotta work hard to have anything, right?
So-
It's kind of embedded in us.
Yeah. I would love to wrap it up because in actual fact, I would love to hear from anyone on the floor if they want to share.
Ooh.
What they, were there any new realizations where you were like, oh, shit, this doesn't serve me? Or does anyone have anything to share in terms of what their process or practice may be? I'd love to hear. Please.
Okay, mine's like kind of weird.
No, I wouldn't expect it to be anything else. We're artists. Please, give us the weird.
So like for me, because I am severely schizophrenic, so I find in the voices and in the visions I have that I actually will see things that I can put to use in my
Amazing.
art.
That's really cool.
So like I've been able to like actually manipulate the things that I'm hearing and seeing into like words on a page or like into visions for certain projects and stuff like that. So it's really like it's helpful. I mean, I didn't really get to know that like side of myself until I was like only like a couple years ago because I was still having severe issues with it.
Yeah.
But and then the thing that I find is really common for me is not even like meditation, but I love SpongeBob. So I will, because I love like, I find their voices are very common and their voices, I'm like, I'll fall asleep to it and then I'll wake up and they'll still be on. I'm like, it's a good day. We're good. So then I find also just the colors inside of that give me inspiration to be like, well, like there's like Patrick's pink, and then it's like, okay, I love that shade of pink he's in at this particular moment in the show, and then like he'll just say something stupid, and I'm like, that's so good, and then I feel inspired to want to do more, and that is kind of like what I go for and stuff like that.
That's so beautiful. There is nothing weird about that at all. May I ask a question a little bit further?
Yeah.
When did you decide that you were going to utilize what possibly is conceived by society as a detriment?
Yeah, well, that was the thing that I had to ask myself too. Because,
So was it a question that you you posed to yourself? I'm so curious.
well, because like the thing being is like because it's considered a disability, it's considered a disadvantage, and like I also have severe OCD too. So like they work together and they play games, and it's like I don't know how to deal with that. But I think it was more so the fact that like I wanted to be more than what people would expect someone like me to do, and I wanted to be able to open the doors for people like me and like disabled people to like be like, you can be more than what people expect you to be.
Yeah.
You can go further.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be able to create that. So when I like went to therapy and stuff, it was a thing of like, okay, how can I get myself to a point where I can actually like start to do the things that I see everyone else do, but I want to do them because like I don't want to just sit down and do nothing because I feel like that's what people can visualize for people in my situation is to just sit and do nothing and they kind of just like
Make assumptions.
Make assumptions about that. So like, and without knowing, people don't really know that that's a thing that I go through every day. So it's also like, but I want to be open about it because I don't want people to think that that's something you have to hide. It's a big part of me.
Yeah.
It's taken over my entire life. So
Yeah.
I just have to kind of put it out there.
Can I do this?
Yeah.
Because you raise a really important point that is going to lead to what we discussed, and I'd like to take what you've just shared with us as the inspiration, because I've discovered for myself as well. This is a Marcus Aurelius quote, I think. My brother's big into Stoicism, but the obstacle is the way, right? And what I took that as is that what I do not want to look at, face, address, actually could possibly be the thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was really struggling with postpartum depression, like all the things. I was just in it. And so I wrote a whole album about it. And it was so incredibly healing. I didn't care if anyone heard the album. I didn't care if I performed it once or twice. Like I just didn't care. I knew that I needed to use this material that was killing me and somehow work with it in a way that was going to get me to the other side of the shore. And so when you were speaking, it was just like so resonating with me. And so I pose this question, thank you to everyone here, and I want to hear from you, depending on how much you want to share. Have you similarly taken something that is just, from the onset, maybe perceivably insurmountable, or just completely stopping you, and been able to use it in your creative process?
Me first?
Wait, if you want.
I can do
I'm
that.
putting you on the spot.
You first.
I'm a real open book. It's cool. Yeah, I grew up in a super strict environment that was very damaging to my self-worth. I think I've used a lot of time and worked on myself a lot, and am now at a place where I can really not hold back and unapologetically share things that I would have otherwise been terrified of writing into my lyrics because for fear of family members hearing it. I'm also autistic. I'm on the spectrum, so is my dad. I visually stim and auditory stim too, and it makes me really happy. I can totally relate.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's when I got that, I was diagnosed at 23. It was kind of a big blow. I had to like rethink, like, oh man, my whole life. That's so crazy. But yeah, it's been beautiful because I have been able to understand that I do actually have limitations. But if I listen to those limitations, I can really just go so far. Like if I'm good to myself, then everything works out. It made me learn boundaries, which I sucked at.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some things.
I just want to shout those from the rooftops, right? Like the thing, our limitations are real things.
Yeah,
Are absolutely real things.
you gotta know.
Yeah, you gotta know.
You gotta go to bed when you gotta go to bed,
Right? Right? Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Sinzere?
You're a superhero, by the way.
Yeah,
So-
seriously.
so cool.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage and bravery to look at that and spin it around in a positive light, and I truly admire that. So thank you for sharing that. So my family's Caribbean. Coming out in my family was very hard. It took me a long time, and then on top of that, I'm a rapper. So if you know anything about rap, it's very misogynistic. Women are very overly sexualized and things like that. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to stand out like a sore thumb everywhere I go.
A beautiful thumb.
Oh, of course. Oh, don't get it twisted. She knows that. But it was challenging because my grandmother is a very hardcore Caribbean lady, and Jamaicans can be very homophobic. So it was very challenging. It was very challenging to share that side of myself in my music because of the genre that I was existing in.
Sure.
And man, it just got to a point where it started to really destroy me inside. And it started sucking the life out of me. And so I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision to show up in the fullness of who I am, independent of what anybody thought of me or how it made people feel. So yeah, I went to battle with myself. I tore myself down in order to build myself back up and heal. And I made a decision to, if you can't love me for who I am, whether that's the artist I am through my music, then fuck you.
So eloquently.
Nice.
Love it. Yep.
So what it really made me do is it made me want to work twice as hard.
Yeah.
And in doing so, in my genre, I started kind of elevating in a way where you could see the separation between what I was doing because it was so authentic and what other people in the genre were doing. So it ended up being a superpower for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you picked up on this because I even though I want to move on to a couple more questions, I just really want to emphasize that it's been my experience as well, is that the thing that we think is our biggest weakness or the thing that makes us unworthy is actually the thing,
Yeah.
right? Is actually the thing.
Also, cheers. I totally.
Oh,
And I believe it
We have a
so
lot of
wholeheartedly because I've experienced it. And so, I mean, we don't all know each other. I know a few faces in the audience. Hi, Aaron. But my belief of all humans is that the thing that we think makes us unlovable is actually the thing that is our power. Right? The thing that we were tasked with in this life, the many things that we were tasked with to not necessarily overcome, but dance with. That's where, I wish it wasn't the way. I wish it could just be happy songs all the time, right? Oh, it was so great. We got a couple minutes left. We got about 10 minutes left. What I wanted to talk about is something that I think connects this workshop to the rest of the workshops, because there's been incredible workshops on resources of how artists present ourselves into the world, right? Marketing 101, how to put on an album release, how to talk to labels, how to get into festivals, all these things that we either need to do, have to do, expect ourselves to do, and want to be a part of a music community. But I find that, at least for myself, what I was finding is that I was trying to find myself in all of those things, right? So if I'm just this, then I'll get a festival gig. If I'm just this, maybe I'll get on the radio. If I just But I discovered that I don't have the metrics for it in terms of like, do I have more streams on Spotify? Highly doubt it. But my relationship to my art has solely become only my engagement with it. Meaning that the product of my music, yeah, it happens. I write songs, I put them on an album, they're presented. I love being on stage, but the actual act itself is ultimately all I care about. And the fact that there are going to be other people, I know I said this at the beginning, the reason that I wanted to talk about this workshop is that I think the more artists that go, this is who I am, this is what I want to say, and fuck all of you,
Yeah.
that's actually where everyone stands up and listens, right? Like I have never experienced such connection to my friends and to my audience by being absolutely scarily vulnerable in my music. Have you found that as well?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Even if it's not even fuck you, but like,
Yeah.
I do love you.
100%.
Right, that's true, right? Yeah, I think it's like fuck you, but I love you, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like the people that are trying to make you not yourself, and also it's okay to just be like concerned about strangers.
Yes, absolutely. To worry about our other human beings.
Yeah.
Let's go to there because I think being true to ourselves is something that I want to talk about because if we can sort of align with that, I don't know, in all sorts of ways, like who we are really, our higher self, like true north or whatever it is, that everything else that we do in service to our art, be it marketing, building websites, putting together a tour, comes from that place, rather than, oh, I gotta do, like, it comes from an external world. But the external world inputs into us. And so that's what I want to pick up a little bit, and we've been talking about throughout this hour. The relationship we have between drugs and alcohol, the relationship between our process and practice and our mental health, the relationship between ourselves and others, be it in a band, a co-write setting, or if we're working with a manager or a publicist. What happens to our process when we involve another person? Because I have just gone from solo now into a band setting again. And it is a thing, right? It's a thing. Like I've played in bands my entire life, but for the last 5 years, solo only. And so now, having discovered so much about myself, I'm attempting to communicate to now other people. And I find that it's like a completely new game.
Yeah.
Because now I know exactly what I want, but now I also don't know anything of what I want because I have 2 other bandmates and acknowledging their input, right? But still being completely true. How does that work? Because you and I talked about this. Because you do co-writes.
Oh, I
You have a
love
co-writer
to-
in the group here.
Of course, and actually the whole band, I give a lot of like creative agency to every. I don't
Perfect
give
word.
it.
Yeah.
I just make the space
You acknowledge it.
to support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because to me, I've gone through a lot in the last few years, and I think part of that was finding all of the pieces that fit together. So it's sort of like even our producer, Russ, who worked with us, I'm letting him do whatever he's doing too. I'm not gonna ever be like, hey, I don't like that, unless it's just untrue to the emotion of the original reason for the song, because then it could exist in a different song. Sorry to sidetrack there, but essentially what I'm saying is the people that I'm creating with are there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I don't need to tell them exactly what to do because we've already established we're all compatible here. I don't want to work with people I'm not compatible with anymore. I did that for 7 years and it kind of sucked. So we're not in that place anymore. And I love to see what everyone else is doing because I have put, years into figuring out writing and singing and a bit of guitar and piano, but I'm never gonna be as good of a drummer as the drummer that I work with. I'm never gonna play slide guitar like Bobby over here, and that's okay. That's why I like working.
Yeah, and what I'm picking up is that there is a very strong element of trust.
Yeah, because it's like we're here together, and I trust the place that I've put myself in, and the people that have come into my circle, and they trust me too, and there's mutual respect there, and open communication. So I don't feel like I need to have like some kind of like real creative control where I'm like, oh no, like that bass line and that bass line.
Yeah.
And I've done that too, but if I want to do that, I'll just write a song and record all the parts myself, and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But it's not. I'd rather have fun.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, follow the
I'm,
fun.
I'm not doing the hermit thing right now.
Yeah.
Maybe in like 10 years, who knows?
Yeah.
But I just want to have fun.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Sincere, how about you? Because you work with the band as well.
Yeah, I mean, she said it. She said it. She really, really said it. Just giving other musicians creative agency.
I love that word, agency versus control.
Yeah.
Because the two can coexist,
Yeah.
right? And it's setting, it's like, at the end of the day, I hate that phrase, but at the end of the day, what you say goes.
Yeah.
But there is an element of like, you have to, relinquish or acknowledge agency.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, it's like this big. We're like sonically, it's like this beautiful mosaic canvas we're creating, right?
Yeah.
And it's like there's all these different elements and all these different parts. And like she said, I'm not a bassist or I'm not the drummer, right? So they bring something to that picture
Yeah.
that is unique and it's unique to them, right? And if I hear something a certain way, I can share that with them creatively.
Yeah.
If they hear something a certain way, they can share that with me. And it's just the space, it's community, right?
Yeah.
It's like making sure you're in the room with people that you truly can be in a room with, right? And not like, there's too many times when I play with musicians that's like, they get on certain shows with me and it fluffs their ass. They're just like, their ego is just like, it is like just bizarre.
Yeah.
It's bizarre how
room for
quickly
that.
people change
Yeah.
when they're in front of a crowd on a certain stage
Yeah.
and they get a certain kind of energy. Oh my God, it's
It is wild, hey?
it's insane to see the character change. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I mean, getting around people that you can share that space with,
Yeah.
and that you respect and they respect you, I think is important. And loosen up the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not Prince. Like I don't have to play the drums, the guitar,
Yeah.
the sax. I don't have that. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
You probably could be, but I don't want to.
Well, yeah, but that's cool.
I want to play with others. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, Chris
yeah.
also
I mean, I think with my band is I have such a level of respect for each one of those musicians that the more I express that and give them space to exist as themselves, the better we are on that stage. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And 'cause
Amazing.
That's a unique voice, right?
Yeah.
So everybody gets to bring their unique voice. It's
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's interesting because you get to learn from people too.
Absolutely.
Bigger than the sum of its parts.
Ow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 5 minutes left, and so I just want to wrap up and amplify what Kue and Sinzere have been speaking about. There's just been such a overlap, right, and a lovely dovetail of the various concepts around how we create things and the things that we do to support the creation of things. The last thing that I want to address, and this is very much on a personal note, because within this last month, I've really been at odds with my creative process and practice, and presenting it to the world and promoting it to the world with what's been going on. And so I want to talk about it because I feel that the ongoing genocide in Gaza, as well as genocides happening at the same time in Sudan and Congo, that we're at a time where, yes, humanity has always had struggles that have certainly affected different groups of people in different ways. I myself have really been privileged as a white woman to pretty much walk through this earth school in a way that has been less violent than others. And so I feel that when we get together in a group and there's people such as ourselves, artists, that it is absolutely a disservice to myself, to humanity, to my friends, that we don't actually acknowledge that things are fucking wild. And how do we create? And what is our responsibility to what's going on as artists? And I don't have the answer, and I'm not expecting you to have the answer either. But I want to lay that question down to both of you and to all of you. Because I think here's my feeling. I feel that the time to ignore and the time to go, no, I just gotta live my life, mental health, self-care is over. Right? And it has been over for years and years, but like really for me, it's come to a head. It's like, how am I going to function now, knowing what I know and seeing it unfold? And how can I write my silly little songs right? That's where I'm at right now. How can I write my silly little songs? How can I do my silly little craft when that's happening?
Yeah.
When there's a genocide's happening, right?
Right.
And I wanna invoke that because I don't want it to ever be an elephant in any room. But what do we do as artists?
It's a big question.
What do we do?
For me personally, I make those silly little songs because it's about connection too, and I really do believe in there's energetic things happening. I mull things over within myself a lot because I feel like we have to understand how we feel and what we can say, and when conversations arise, how we want to respond, because that's really important. Just understand where you're at with this and educate yourself on what's happening so you can have those conversations. I think even though we're so far removed, like it still has an impact if you're a sensitive individual, which I would assume if you make art.
You're
Sorry
sensitive.
about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Good luck, have fun.
yeah.
But it's hard. And responsibility-wise, I think that lays down a personal conviction from person to
Perfectly
person.
stated.
I mean, like we've
Personal
all
conviction.
been through different things, so I'm not going to speak on who should be doing what
Yeah.
or sharing what or not, because I don't know anyone's personal walk, so I'm not going to make past judgments on people. And I would hope the same for me, but
Can't control it.
can't control it. Just have a heart. Just have a damn heart. That's pretty much it. That's
Yeah.
all I can say about it.
Well, I really want to emphasize, I think personal conviction is really important because it puts the responsibility on each of us to walk the walk in our own way. Right? We're looking for leadership, we're looking for someone to tell us what to do, but we just got to do it ourselves. How about you, Sinzere? I know that you've been walking a walk and speaking for a long time. This is not new. This is how you function in the world.
Yeah, I think I don't know, there's no real way, I think, to approach something like this from this side of the world, other than having a heart.
Yeah.
I mean, showing up in whatever, if you can contribute to the cause in any way, whether that's donating. It's not like anyone's getting on a plane to go there to fight.
No.
I don't know, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy, and it's something that, for me, because I'm an empath, so I feel things deeply.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, I want to do something. And often I find it'll inspire music for me that way.
I found the same thing.
Yeah, but it's just shitty.
It's just
It's
shitty.
shitty. Also,
Yeah.
just acknowledging that sometimes is okay.
Yeah, I think the world is purging itself
Yeah.
right now from
Yeah.
a lot of different things, and I think over here we kind of have blinders on to a lot of things
Yeah.
that a lot of people have to go through in their lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just, yeah, I can't tell nobody else what to do, but
Yeah.
if I can speak out about it and if
Yeah.
I can help in any way, then I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I want to finish up with just my own realization that the thing that I tell myself and the thing that I tell my students when I work for them is write that shitty song. Just write it. And I find that the process of writing, the process of creating, gets me to a place of solidity. So the trick is, though, that it's the process itself. So do I want to write so that I can process all these heavy feelings? Yes. Do I need to write, record, and then blast that song out onto social media? No. That's for me. Because what I feel for myself, who I am, is that it's not my story, but the creative process, so which I can figure out where I can be of service to the story, that's how I figure it out. And so I think that being able for me to decide, why am I writing this song? Am I writing this song because I want to share it with the world, or do I want to write this song for myself to figure some shit out?
Yeah.
And I think so many times as artists we're told, you can't, how could you possibly write songs about other people's stories? You can't. You can. It's just a different thing to start sharing them on social media. So I think that was sort of a tangible thing that I'd like to end with. And I know we're over time. Please feel that you can continue these conversations, right? Like I feel that, who are we as artists? How do we function? What do we do in service or disservice to ourselves? That's where it all is. right? That's where, at least for me, that's where I feel it is. So I just want to have a huge thanks to Colleen and everyone at Music Calgary for making this workshop possible. I want to give a huge thank you to Kue and to Sinzere. Please put your hands together. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here and for being a part of it. And yeah, go forth and create, people.